What is up, full-time family? Shout out to unemployed Mario Yamasaki, first one in the building. He said, congrats on the new sponsor, fam. Much appreciated. I think you're talking about On It. Not an official sponsor, but hey, it's an affiliate, so anybody that clicks that link, it's still something like that. But hey, it is what it is. I appreciate it. We're going to get straight into the show today. I pulled an all-nighter last night before work, stayed up. Had to work at 6 in the morning off work, so might be a shorter show today. We still got some stuff to talk about and some really good news. We got Kayla Harrison's next fight date announced, and on top of that, we're going to go over UFC Calgary. But yeah, some interesting things to talk about. Not a lot though, so we'll cover it, chop it up with the full-time family, then we'll get out of here until tomorrow's live show. So with that being said, we're going to start off the show with a couple of MMA raps just to give some people in the full-time family time to, get in here and get the full-time group chat going. So with that being said, and if you're not a fan of it and you're listening on the replay, just skip forward about 2 minutes. Don't leave a comment complaining about, you know what I'm saying? Just skip forward, dog.
Hey, Damien Maya, it's the king. I know you're gonna try to ride me like a, but you know I ain't having that. Do you know you're human, or do you really think that you're I think it's the latter, hope. Bitch, I graduated. I ain't going back to having no. Drop him right in front of all of y'all. He ain't about to do me like he did my boy Young Masvidal. Excuse me, Mr. Woodley. You're talking to me stupid. I think you need some more schooling. I'm gonna teach him some respect. He ain't gonna be talking when I'm squeezing on his neck. They call it jujitsu, hope. If you ain't know, you'll know when I am hanging on this dude's throat like a. You can call me Mr. Maya. I'm gonna take his belt and hold it up and put it right inside my fucking.
Hey, what is up, full-time family? Webs PK Vids in the building. We got one more quick song, the Eskimo brother Brendan Shaw versus Dana White. Before we get into the MMA news, we're about to hit play. Let's get it, full-time family.
Look, Dana, I'm busy with podcast committee. Got no time to talk to you. Came at me shitty when you were on Insta, so now I'm committed to make you look silly. And I have no pity and no disrespect with to my nigga Izzy. But Dana's a bully, so Dana can get it. And I might just tell Black Beast about you and Ronda, so that you get smacked with the wrath of Wakanda. Yeah, you should have probably just left it alone, cause now the whole world knows we're Eskimo bros. You fuck with Big Brown, now you're getting exposed. You fuck with Big Brown, and that's just how it goes.
Hey. Brand new whip, got no keys. Let's motherfucking go, full-time family. It's time to talk some MMA. It's Monday. It is the 30th of July, end of the month. Let's fucking go, full-time family. We'll be back, of course, tomorrow after the show. Every day, every weekday, 7 p.m. Eastern. Time to start the show. Unemployed Mario Yamasaki says, what happens if Woodley clears Till the same way he got Lawler? Holy smokes, that's a very real possibility, but I'm not sure, man. If that happens, well, I think we just move along with Woodley versus Covington. That's a very real possibility, but at the same time, what if Darren Till comes through, shocks the world, and knocks out Tyron Woodley, similar to how Woodley did Lawler? Ooh, that would be fucking crazy too, brother. So, I'm low-key hyped for UFC 228. But first, we have UFC 227. But with that being said, yesterday was actually UFC on Fox 30, a stacked card that actually had alarming numbers. Again, we saw UFC 225 was the most stacked pay-per-view of the year to date, had some of the lowest ratings, only 250,000 pay-per-views with a stacked card. You had Holly Holm on there, 2 title fights, Robert Whittaker, Yoel Romero, Colby Covington, Rafael Dos Anjos. You had Tai Tuivasa, you had Andrei Arlovsky, you had Megan Anderson, Holly Holm, even CM Punk, and they couldn't break 300,000 pay-per-views. That is abysmal. It almost doesn't make sense. It's low-key like the casual fans don't give a fuck about the sport anymore, and half the hardcores. Now, there's a few things it could be. Is it the streaming numbers? Is it the fact that a lot of people are boycotting what the UFC is doing. Like, hey, if you're going to be doing all of this circus WWE shit, we're not going to spend $65 on the pay-per-view. That's another thing to keep in mind. The pay-per-view price raised at the beginning of this year and went from 60 to 65. So you're asking just for a little bit more from the buyer. And maybe that's the straw that broke the camel's back on top of everything else. And we're like, you know what? Why pay $65 when we're going to be doing this WWE stuff when I could just get the fights for one click? Now, I'm a guy that if you can afford it, I believe you should support your favorite fighters. But with that being said, there's just a lot more casual fans that the UFC has to care about than us. I mean, we can be picky and choosy. Oh, I don't want to buy this pay-per-view because CM Punk. I don't want to buy this pay-per-view because the UFC's doing WWE stuff. But at some point, you are going to be buying the pay-per-views to support your favorite fighters. But with that being said, even when we do show out, and even when it's free TV, we're seeing this problem persistent, as we saw with UFC on Fox 30. Stacked card, 3 former champions, Eddie Alvarez, Jose Aldo, Conor McGregor's shadow was even over the card. Jeremy Stephens and even Dustin Poirier had their own history with Conor McGregor. So all 4 fighters in the main event not only had a history with Conor McGregor, but you had 2 former champions in the main event and co-main event in Eddie Alvarez and Jose Aldo. And then even another former champion, Joanna Jędrzejczyk, on the card. And it was the lowest number of the year. Lowest TV ratings of the year, one of the most stacked cards of the year. So that's 2 of the most stacked cards of the year now that have had terrible numbers. So it's like the outside world doesn't give a fuck about our veterans of the sport. Just because we know Eddie Alvarez is a fan favorite fighter that's willing to get in there and put it on the line and, you know, brawl. Same with Jeremy Stephens, you know, put an entertaining fight on for the fans. That's not even enough. Even putting on entertaining fights is not enough to get the casual fans to tune in. It seems like there has to be either a change in the layout of the way the UFC is, which it seems like there might be with this ESPN deal coming at the beginning of 2019. But other than that, man, it seems like the people just aren't really giving a fuck about the sport unless there's some sort of big drama show, right? If Conor McGregor's fighting, they're watching. If Ronda Rousey's fighting, they're watching. If John Jones is fighting, they're watching. But other than that, you better have motherfucking dollies flying, opponents changing, and just a lot of stuff, you know what I'm saying, before the fight. Because it seems like when that happens, that's when the casual fan, like my brother's like, oh, what's going on? What? Wait, what? There's UFC this weekend? Hold on, who threw a dolly where? And that's when their mind is on the sport, you know what I'm saying? But other than that, there's just too much shit to get distracted with out here. Too much shit to be entertained by. There's multiple different sports, motherfucking games, TV, Hulu, motherfucking YouTube. You know what I'm saying? There's so much free entertainment out there nowadays. It's going to be hard to steal the attention just as a sport on a week-to-week basis. You know what? Us hardcore fans, we're going to care about the sport on a week-to-week basis. But it seems like it's too much to ask from the casual fan. Even people that are starting to care about the UFC a little more and more. They didn't tune into UFC on Fox 30. It was free. I told my brother, yo, Eddie Alvarez is fighting tonight. Jose Aldo's fighting tonight. Co-main event and main event. Joanna Jędrzejczyk is also fighting. And he ended up staying on motherfucking Fortnite and never switched on the fights. Now, whenever there's a big pay-per-view like UFC 226, UFC 225, he at least switches on the pay-per-view toward the end. He doesn't watch the whole pay-per-view, but at least he watches the title fight and maybe a fight or two before. So it really seems like having a title fight is more important than having a stacked fight card. That's why the UFC's throwing around these shitty-ass interim belts nobody else cares about. Because the casual fan does. It doesn't matter if you're an 80-year-old grandma or a 5-year-old kid that's watching the fights with your uncle. When you see that person come out with the strap on their shoulder, or Dana White crown somebody with that strap on their belt, you're not thinking, is that the real belt or is that the interim belt? They're thinking, oh, that's the champion. That's the best fighter. So that's something that actually matters in terms of the casual fan. And I think that might be how we have to start looking at this, man. Whatever we care about honestly doesn't mean shit. Because we're hardcore fans. We're keeping up on a day-to-day basis. It really, you know what I'm saying? So it's a weird situation. It's a weird time to be an MMA fan. I mean, it's felt like a great time to be an MMA fan with all the great fights coming up, all the great fights we've been seeing. But at the same time, you have to wonder, what happens to the sport if the casual fan doesn't care? Can we fix this? Is this something that can be fixed? Maybe if we bring back some of the integrity of the sport, take away some of these CM Punk and all of this madness, I wonder if that has a part in why these numbers are so low. I'm not sure, but you know, something we'll continue to figure out and keep our you know, thumb on the pulse of this problem as the year continues. But we'll see what happens when Conor McGregor comes back. Hopefully, he can draw the whole world back in. I'm sure he can. He has, you know, in all of his other fights. But that's another thing to consider. I mean, it's even with UFC on Fox 30. Boxing, there was a boxing fight that night. Boxing is competing with MMA. And with the crossover of Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor, you got a lot more MMA fans that might care about some boxing cards. And maybe you have some boxing fans watching MMA now, but I'm not sure because we haven't had the numbers that have reflected that. Except for when Conor McGregor fights, there's probably going to be that much more guys that watch Conor McGregor. I'm sure all the boxing fans are going to be watching Conor McGregor's next fight regardless. But it's just a weird situation. We've had some big cards and abysmal numbers, alarming numbers. Israel Agedong says UFC will fade away and classify itself as obsolete. Obsolete. He's been on that tip for a while. Israel Agedong says delete, 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 followed by obsolete. Well, that's a possibility, but what about motherfucking Bellator? You know what I'm saying? Is it just the sport or is it just the UFC? The UFC has been making some questionable decisions, you know what I'm saying, as of late. A lot of their best fighters going over to Bellator. Do you think this has something to do with the fact that the herd is thinning out? You're getting Bellator, great fighters over at Bellator, big fight cards at Bellator, heavyweight Grand Prix. They announced a welterweight Grand Prix. They're doing a lot of fun things. Also, you've got Invicta. I mean, you've got some other MMA organizations on the rise. Now, none of them may ever eclipse the UFC. I'm sure Bellator has something to say about that, but not for a long while. But do you think that has something to do with the UFC losing its appeal? I mean, you're losing some of your best fighters in the world. You're bringing in a lot of the WWE circus act, it seems like, with some of these fights that are happening and where some of these fighters are getting placed on the cards. It really seems like popularity is more important than ever in the UFC, and I wonder if that's hurting the UFC. You can't be 100% sure, but London Collins, Stamina MC in the building. James Medina says, who's Pacquiao fighting next? I'm not sure, dog. Jeff Horn? I don't know. I don't even keep up with boxing like that. I heard he got called out by somebody, but I'm not 100% sure. Alan Clark said, ups and downs are a part of growth. Yeah, and maybe that's what it is. You know, maybe it's just the downs of the new era. You know, the company was just purchased by a new company. We're still kind of in the beginning phase of that, although it's been almost 2 years now, it feels like. But with that being said, the pay-per-view price did just rise. You know, there is a lot of other stuff going on. So maybe that has something to do with it. And maybe this is just a lull and the UFC is going to come back better than ever. You know, maybe at the start of next year, 2019, when we really usher in this ESPN deal and see how that works out. The UFC is going through a changing process right now. They're leaving Fox. They're going to ESPN. They just raised the prices. There's the whole ESPN Plus app. And there's a lot of moving parts in the world of MMA right now. Maybe that has something to do with it. You know what I'm saying? Everyone's not as focused on just the fights with everything else going on. So, you know, maybe this is just a low moment. Infamous says that the UFC would switch over to ESPN. Yeah, they are at the beginning of 2019, I believe. Webs PK Vid says, once the UFC orders the rankings matter, I think pay-per-views will start to back up slowly. Money fights are fun, but only once every now and then. But it's still on Fox and Fox Sports 1. It loses its aura. Yeah. All right, well, but yeah, so good way to start the show. You know, a little conversation on some of these crazy pay-per-view numbers and even free Fox numbers, which we just saw. I mean, we thought, okay, maybe it has something to do with the pay-per-view, people boycotting the pay-per-view. Clearly, it's not even just that, with the free Fox numbers being this alarming. So, something to keep our eye on. But with that being said, let's get straight into the news, man. A little tired. Like I said, I pulled an all-nighter. I probably might be an hour, hour and a half. Who knows? But we get into conversations like that, fuck around and be here for 3 hours until I pass out on stream. Unemployed Mario Yamasaki says, when did they raise the pay-per-view price and by how much? They raised the pay-per-view price at the beginning of this year, $4.99. Actually, $5. It went from being $59.99, now it's $64.99. So it's $5 increase. Not a lot, not a make or break type deal, but I mean, it's still, you know, could be the straw that broke the camel's back. But with that being said, you can't really take that into consideration when you see the same thing happen in the UFC on Fox 30, one of the most stacked Fox cards of the year, abysmal numbers. That's really alarming. You know what I'm saying? Aldo versus Stevens. You got fucking Poirier versus Alvarez 2. And that fight even had a little bit of controversy. The ending of the first one, there was even a little bit of drama going into that fight. Now, they didn't really trump it up before the fight, you know, and fucking charge each other at the press conference or get too disrespectful. And maybe, I really think that might have something to do with these numbers. And this is just my observation. It feels like when there's some sort of big drama show before an event, it really helps the ratings. You know, and we saw this when Conor McGregor threw the damn dolly at the bus. Now, we don't know how much it affected pay-per-view sales, but we know for sure it turned that next embedded video into the most watched embedded of all time. That embedded episode 6 for UFC 223 might have cracked fucking 3 million views. Unheard of for an embedded episode, because the whole world was like, wait, what? Who's throwing dollies? Where? What's going on with Conor McGregor? Wait, where? What's happening at Barclays? So you're seeing these headlines. You're hearing about it on all these other ESPNs talking about Conor McGregor throwing a dolly. So that's when my brother, casual ass microwave, and other people are like, wait, what's going on with the UFC? Hold on, let me tune on. If I ain't got nothing else going on this weekend, I might watch some UFC because it's fresh on their mind. But if you don't have the UFC on your mind day by day by day, then the card might not be as big to you. So I think that might have something to do with it, but we'll see, man. Definitely something I got my eye on. But yeah, Khabib confirmed Conor McGregor is next. Also suggests Poirier versus Ferguson. Now, this is a fight that I felt like has been, and I know the UFC couldn't actually get the contract signed and the deal done before Conor McGregor's court date, but I had a feeling like this fight was already at least verbally agreed upon for a while now. We've been hearing rumblings and inklings that this is going to be the next fight, barring what happened at Conor McGregor's court date. But a lot of people felt like he was going to reach a plea deal there. You know, money talks. So even if you couldn't make anything set in stone official, I believe they already started working out and hammering out the details of getting this fight done. And so that's why I actually think this fight's going to come together sooner than some people might think. If you're thinking that the UFC still has to negotiate with Conor and he wants a piece of the pie. Now and later with the $2 super chat. What the fuck is this? The money channel? Now and later says, it's summer, people. Enjoy the sun. Getting laid full time. Hey, I'm about to enjoy some sleep after this live stream, but I appreciate the $2 in the super chat now and later. And hopefully, if you guys are out in the sun enjoying a run, you can also enjoy it with your boy Big Full Time in your ears. Fuck you, time out. That's pretty dope to think about. Now and later says Full Time UFC. Yeah, man, it's a little unfortunate what's going on in the UFC right now. But now and later, we got motherfucking great news. Kayla Harrison's next fight was just announced before the live stream. Let's motherfucking go, and she's fighting a straight savage. I can't wait. Ronda, I'm not going to call her Ronda Rousey 2.0 because she's better. Kayla Harrison, the two-time Olympic gold medalist, is going to be taking on Josette Cotton, who is 8-1. No easy fight. Second pro fight I'm taking on a motherfucker that's 8-1, fighting at 150 pounds, looking like a prison yard brawler. Y'all got Kayla Harrison fucked up if you think she ain't going to be ready by 2020. But we're going to talk about that toward the end of the show. Can't wait. But Khabib versus Conor, I feel like the deal's pretty much done. Of course, you got to build the fight, and I feel like low-key that's been going on. We saw Conor McGregor pop up in Russia, talking about building his Russian compound, popped up at the World Games next to Putin, while Khabib was down in the stands with the people of Dagestan. You got the royalty, we got the people. They're turning this shit political already. I'm telling you, the fight is a building. Then we seen Khabib showing up at UFC Calgary doing media, talking about a big announcement's coming soon. It's coming, and just the words that's going on, it's not looking like Khabib's not saying, yo, Conor's got five fucking hours until he agrees to the fight or I'm moving on. He's saying shit like Conor's next. He's saying shit like we're gonna be fighting. He's saying shit like everyone will be punished for their actions. He's saying shit like he knows the fight's happening. Now when? We don't know. It seems like October in Las Vegas, but it could still happen in Madison Square Garden, or worst case scenario, the very end of the year. in December, which would be unfortunate because we've already been waiting a while for this fight. But with that being said, here's a little bit of what Khabib had to say. Speaking with Chris Taylor from BJ Penn, I believe. He says, all signs point to Khabib versus Conor at UFC 229 in Las Vegas. Nurmagomedov told me Conor's next and suggested Poirier can fight Ferguson. So, with that being said, we just saw Dustin Poirier defeated Eddie Alvarez. That could have been a title fight, but the logjam divisions, but the lightweight division is logjammed. Hell, we might as well call it the logjam division with what's been going on with Conor, now Khabib. But the lightweight division has been logjammed, so that's why Poirier and Alvarez have not got a title shot yet, coming off of impressive wins. Poirier just got another win, moved to a 3-fight winning streak with wins over Dustin Poirier beat Justin Gaethje, Anthony Pettis, and Eddie Alvarez. That's 3 former champions, 2 UFC champions in Eddie Alvarez and Anthony Pettis, and then World Series of Fighting champion Justin Gaethje. Dustin Poirier is fighting championship-level fights, winning these fights, and he still might have to fight another guy in Tony Ferguson to get his title shot, which is going to be a hard fight. And Tony Ferguson, he's getting slighted a little bit if he has to fight Dustin Poirier his damn self. Both of these guys are kind of getting the short end of the stick if they do have to fight each other because they both have already earned their title shot. We've seen fighters get title shots for so much less than what both of these guys have done, but now they potentially could be fighting just for a #1 contender fight, not even for an interim strap. Tony Ferguson was already the interim champion when he was going to be fighting Khabib. Injured his leg, got stripped of his title. Dustin Poirier is now on that 3-fight winning streak. So now we might have to see, which I'm not complaining because it's going to be an amazing fight. But if you're those guys trying to get closer to the belt and that ultimate end goal of the belt payday, then it's kind of unfortunate for you having to try and climb through a ladder. You never know when you're getting to title fights. Like, I could beat Dustin Poirier, and who knows, maybe fucking Khabib wants to fight GSP. Maybe Conor wants to fight GSP or Nate Diaz. So then, what if fucking Dustin Poirier or Eddie Alvarez wins the fight, and they still don't get a title shot? So at this point, it's almost better to ask for a damn title shot at another division. Hey, can I fucking bust a Yoel Romero, hop up a division and get a title fight? You know, since I'm not getting a title fight in this division anytime soon, I wouldn't be surprised if Tony Ferguson tried his hand at fighting Tyron Woodley in the meantime, in between time. Shit, until I can return to lightweight, give me a piece of Tyron Woodley. Dustin Poirier, maybe. You know what I'm saying? So, just some things going on. But either way, Khabib versus Conor is likely next, as we've been saying, as we've been thinking. I can't wait for the official announcement because once it officially gets announced, holy shit, the world will go crazy. But I'm saying all signs have been pointing toward the fight. With that being said, Jon Jones has posted a reflective message on a 1-year anniversary of Daniel Cormier KO. I mean, 1 year ago today, Daniel Cormier was getting knocked out, and turned into a meme after he was crying in the octagon when he fought Jon Jones. Since then, though, we know what's happened. The crazy fucking turn of events. Jon Jones came back, beat Daniel Cormier, got his title back. All was right in the world until Jon Jones immediately failed his drug test afterward and made us all go, what the fuck? Not again. And then Daniel Cormier got his belt back, started to take everything Jon Jones worked for, moved up to heavyweight, knocked out Stipe Miocic, and now he's en route to the Brock Lesnar fight Jon Jones was on his way toward. And so he's taking everything Jon Jones worked for. And Jon Jones, all he can do is sit and tweet and post from the sidelines because he failed that drug test. And it's unfortunate, but at the same time, he still feels like he's the champ and he's still plotting on a comeback. This is what he had to say. Time has a way of putting things into perspective. 1 year ago today, I knocked out Daniel Cormier to reclaim my light heavyweight title. It was the culmination of all the sacrifice and hard work put in on the road back to where I truly know I belong. That's at the top. The only place I've ever dreamed of being. Turns out it wasn't a forever moment, but a fleeting one, as 2 weeks later I find out on TMZ of all places, my title has been stripped and I'm suspended once again. To go from the spotlight to darkness and have everything taken away from me again was a hardship the public will never truly understand. It bit me, but it did not break me, and I had to learn to fight in a different way. I've spent the last year living right and getting healthy, but much of that work was spent correcting and repairing my mental space. Call it weakness if you will, but even the toughest individuals need assistance getting back on track. I'll be back, and when I am, it will be a more complete version than the world has ever seen. You have to turn the lemons life gives you into lemonade, and you have to take the time to sit back and enjoy it. The struggles don't define you. It's how you handle them that determines who you are. Be good and enjoy the day. God bless. And he posted a picture of him kicking Daniel Cormier right upside the motherfucking dome, scrambling his eggs. You know, a little bit of nostalgia from Jon Jones, just living in the moment. Like, I can't actually get in the octagon and beat DC because I'm suspended, but I can remember 1 year ago today. Do you know what today is? It's our anniversary. That's how Jon Jones is feeling. He woke up singing that shit today. Uh-oh, we got El Chapo 1 in here. Not a hope too much money involved in this fight. El Chapo being nice. John Doe says, given if Conor signs that contract, he's 100% fighting. He's never pulled out, for sure. And I think he's going to sign the contract. Given Your Name says, I think Conor will be in a jail cell. I don't know, man. Maybe if he does something crazy. But, I mean, we've seen money talks. I mean, you can hit a pregnant lady low-key. You can fucking push a referee. You can throw a dolly through a window. You can do a lot of stuff, and you're probably not going to be in a jail cell, at least for very long. And even if you are, you make bond. You get the felonies knocked down in a plea deal, and you're right back at it. You know what I'm saying? Like a crack addict. So I hear what you're saying, though. A lot of people do feel like Conor McGregor, even if he won't be, he should be right now, you know, because it's kind of fucked up. People with money get away for all of this madness that other fighters and even other people might not get away with. Infamous says, let's pray to Islam. Khabib will show up. Allahu Akbar. Yeah, man. I mean, he should. We've seen Bilal Muhammad fighting through Ramadan, and he got a win. So honestly, the excuse of Khabib not fighting through Ramadan, it's a good one because you can't question someone's religious beliefs and stuff. But I'm not sure why some fighters are able to fight through Ramadan and he's not. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of unfortunate for us fight fans, especially when the division's already been log jammed. But hey, it is what it is. Maybe Khabib's trying to, that's why he's 26-0. I'm not taking no risk. I'm not risking it. I'm being smart about my career. I'm not going to fucking fight at 30% or 50% or whatever percent he would be at if he was fighting through Ramadan. He doesn't want to risk his, you know what I'm saying? But it is what it is. You're going to be risking it versus Conor McGregor, but he's made it to the biggest fight of his life. So regardless, win or lose, going to be a crazy fight and a huge opportunity for both fighters. Unemployed Mario Yamasaki says, what knockout was more shocking than John's on DC or DC's on Stipe? That's a good question. Which one was more shocking, Jones on DC or DC on Stipe? I would have to say, damn, that's a good question because they're both shocking, but at the same time, you kind of see them both happening. We already saw Jon Jones beat DC, but we didn't know if he would finish him like that. And at the same time, we also knew DC was undefeated at heavyweight, but we didn't know if he still had it. So, which one was for me? Personally, I'll say Jon Jones knocking out Daniel Cormier. Because even in the first fight, he didn't knock him out. And in the second fight, I thought he was going to be a clean Jon Jones. So I definitely didn't expect the knockout. So when it came, the moment that it came, I was like, what the fuck? I was completely shocked. And then he felt his drug test and it made a lot more sense. But whenever he knocked him out and I felt like a clean Jon Jones just knocked out DC after everything he had been through, I think that was the fucking just mind-blowing for me personally. Israel A. Gedong with the $2 in the super chat. Yo, what is up, Israel A? Much appreciated for the $2 super chat. Good sir. Israel A. Gedong in the building. Now and later says Jones throws shade at DC. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But he feels like he's the best. You know, it's kind of like Joanna Jacek throwing shit a little bit. Not quite, but it kind of is. You know, you're not the champion anymore, and you're throwing shade at the current champion. And it's like, yo, it's kind of hard to talk shit when you're not the champion anymore. Jon Jones is doing that with DC, and Joanna Jacek was just talking about Rose Namajunas needs to bow down. It's like, yo, come on, sweetie. I know you still feel like you're the GOAT, but chill. You're not the champion right now. Infamous says Jones has been using steroids since college. Awkward time, because that's what I've heard as well. I mean, we've all heard that from Colby Covington. But, I mean, you don't have to be a fucking rocket scientist or that hardcore of a fan to just Google search Jon Jones and see that picture of him in college when he looked a little smaller compared to him in the UFC. Now, with that being said, I'm sure he bulked up a lot too, put on some legitimate muscle, some natty muscle, but I don't know, man. I'm starting to lean toward the Nate Diaz, everybody's on steroids type deal. You know, USADA's doing a good job of cleaning some people up, but it's not like they've cleaned up the whole sport, right? You still see some people fail on the eye test. You still see huge fighters, big-name fighters like Khabib and GSP who feel like USADA's not. They're doing a good job, but they don't feel like they've all the way cleaned up the sport. Khabib said he still feels like 50% or more athletes are cheating even with USADA. GSP said he still feels like it's easy to beat USADA even today. So there's fighters that feel like USADA is not the gold standard for drug testing, but it's like USADA's already almost too strict. If USADA can't clean up the sport, good fucking luck. You can't do it. If USADA can't clean up the sport, then there's just always going to be performance-enhancing drugs, and so it's like, might as well encourage this shit, but you can't really encourage it. So it's a really weird situation. But when you're the UFC and you're losing your biggest stars and your biggest fights, fucking Jon Jones, Brock Lesnar, Jon Jones versus Brock Lesnar, you're losing all of this to USADA, how the fuck is this helping your business? And maybe it's USADA is helping them get the ESPN deals or into the New York market, or maybe it's helping them get big brand, you know, sponsors, because they're like, look, we're testing our athletes, guys. So maybe it helps in PR a little bit. Like, look, we've got the strictest drug testing in the world. But when you look a little deeper, it's not working as far as cleaning up the sport all the way. Now, you do see some guys whose body change, but I'm still looking at USADA like, what happened with Brock Lesnar's first drug test? You know what I'm saying? I think we've had about enough time. That it's about time to start asking that question. Ain't no way we just go motherfucking a full 6 months letting USADA, you know, test Brock Lesnar, and then January comes and it's like, all right, guys, Brock Lesnar's cleared to fight. It's like, wait, so does that mean you're telling us he passed all these drug tests? Because whenever he came back, whenever Brock Lesnar came back and he pushed DC in the octagon, USADA came out and said, yeah, man, he entered the pool a week ago. So you would think they've already got a drug test from Brock Lesnar. I'm surprised that that thing didn't fucking melt the container it was put in. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna need fucking tongs and goggles, like welding goggles, to handle Brock Lesnar's piss. How is that thing not popped yet? You don't even got to put the drug test in there. You put the motherfucking dipstick in there to test for steroids, and that motherfucker just melts like, you know. So what's going on? And so I've been saying this for a while now. Maybe USADA's gotta go. And I don't want anyone to lose their jobs, but just go be strict on some other sport. Go test the motherfuckers playing ice hockey and water polo, because it ain't working over here. You know what I'm saying? No, Brock Lesnar's not. You're not fucking up nothing big. There ain't no match in ice hockey you can fuck up that's gonna piss off as many people that don't get to see Jon Jones or Brock Lesnar or Jon Jones versus Brock Lesnar. Now Jon Jones' legacy tainted. Oh, by the way, that's not counting all the guys who failed drug tests and then are found innocent. Anderson Silva, Junior Dos Santos, Chris Cyborg, motherfucking Yoel Romero. All of these fighters that have failed USADA tests, come to find out they're exempt, they're cleared, but their legacy is tarnished forever. Come on here. How much? I really feel like USADA's almost doing more damage than good here. Or do the benefits outweigh the negatives? And unless it's some benefit we're not looking at right now, like, oh no, we have to have USADA or we lose our fucking Modelo sponsor. Something big like that. I don't really understand much of how USADA is helping much of a lot. You're taking away some of the biggest stars, so that's a conversation that has to be had. We're still trying to figure out what's going on with Brock Lesnar's drug test. I saw my name highlighted up here, so let's see what the message had to say. Hades19 says, full-time MMA. Have you seen the Netflix documentary Icarus? It's a documentary about how easy it is to beat drug tests and Russia's secret state-sponsored PED scandal for the Olympics. I've heard about this. And oh, by the way, let's talk about what you just said. Russia's secret state-sponsored PED scandal. There's a lot of fucking beasts coming over from Dagestan and Russia right now, by the way. Just in case you guys didn't know. There's a lot of motherfucking unranked killers in the lightweight division. Marabek Taisimov. I mean, who just got an Islam Makhachev, Zabit Magomed Sharapov, Khabib Nurmagomedov. There's so many fucking studs coming over from Dagestan and Russia right now. And you might wonder, I mean, maybe this is just me, but if they can beat Olympic level drug testing, they can't. You don't think they can beat USADA? And now think about it this way. Isn't that a little bit of an unfair advantage if you know how to beat USADA but other fighters don't? I mean, you're risking it, but everyone was already risking it. It's like, maybe that's why you see, you know, it's just that's a weird situation to actually delve into. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't want to fucking be the guy to cast an aspersion on all these guys, but it's like, hey, we got a whole bunch of beasts coming up from Russia right now. People have talked about USADA's able to be beat. I mean, I'm just going to open the door like that for you guys. You can take that and run with it. But I think some of you see where I'm going with this. Is there a 0% chance that none of these Russian fighters can beat USADA? I mean, I've heard that they can beat the damn Olympics testing. Is that not as strict as USADA? So, I mean, there's a lot of guys coming over here looking amazing. I'm just saying. So we're not going to go too far into that. But yeah, that was a good point. And I think I have seen that Icarus documentary. Dan from Oregon says, Henzo in the building. What up, Dan from Oregon? My motherfucking dog. John Doe says, in Mother Russia, steroid do you? European athletes are coming up, MMA and boxing. Shit is crazy now. Oh yeah, EU on the rise. Now and later says, Brock fights once every 5 years. He's not competing. He's 42-year-old. Let him juice full time. I'm good. Let him juice. Let him juice. Let motherfucking John Jones juice. Let TRT Tour juice. I don't give a fuck about none of these niggas juicing. They can all do it as far as I give a fuck. I'm watching the sport. You ain't taking no money out of my table when you're making the fight better. I don't give a damn who's on it. I'm just talking about the fact that some fighters are getting through. Some fighters are not. Some fighters... I'm just wondering what's going on with USADA. It doesn't seem like it's working 100% effectively. I mean, you're ruining some people's legacies who are innocent. You know what I'm saying? And if you just want to let some people through, okay, that's cool with me too. Let Brock Lesnar do his thing. But we can't sit here and act like Brock Lesnar getting through 6 months of USADA testing isn't suspect as fuck. I mean, I get it. I'm cool. If we can just give Brock Lesnar a Brock Lesnar exemption, let's do it. Let's see if DC can beat up steroid Brock Lesnar. I don't give a fuck. Let's see if he can. Who cares? He might be able to. He's got the skill. But with that comes you telling me Brock Lesnar passed 6 months of USADA testing. I don't know. Skeptical hippo eyes or what? Juice to the motherfucking gill, says Israel A. Yes, sir. Conor Lodge says there's levels to the juice, so if it was allowed, it would still be an uneven playing field. Yeah, if there's some guys that can beat the system, it's officially an unlevel playing field. You're testing these motherfuckers randomly at all hours of the night, 5 a.m., got a fucking toothpick up your asshole, and there's motherfuckers saying I'm going to Antarctica, coming back looking like the soldier of God mixed with a Greek god, and you're going to tell me something's not fucking funny? Meanwhile, I'm just trying to, you know, wake up. I just got out of wrestling practice. I'm a clean fighter. I got USADA literally a fine-tooth comb in my bathroom watching me piss, doing all of this, and you got these motherfuckers that look like they ain't had a damn drug test in 10 years. What's going on? And now Brock Lesnar's coming. So it's a weird situation. We'll see how that plays out, but we're not going to go too far on the USADA, you know what I'm saying, off that plane. But something we could talk about, another topic for another day. Still waiting to see the results of Brock Lesnar's first piss test. With that being said, make sure you guys hit the thumbs up building if you're in here. We got 36 people watching. That's quite a bit. What is up, full-time family? Only 13 thumbs up. That's not a good ratio. 36 people watching, 13 thumbs up. That's only 1/3 of the people in here. So y'all either ain't fucking with me or you just wasn't thinking about it because you're too enthralled in the conversation. And we're going to go with the latter. But with that being said, now and later says, what if DC got caught doing blow in the locker room before a fight with a powder nose? I mean, and blow, that's a whole nother thing, right? I mean, unless you're doing it like in your corner, who gives a fuck if someone's doing cocaine? Who cares? That's not what people are talking about when they're talking about performance-enhancing drugs. They're not talking about what you're doing to party in the spare time. As long as you ain't taking a bump in between the 4th and 5th round, giving you extra energy to come out here like a damn zombie, we're good. Do all the coke you want before, during, just not after the, not during the fight. Before or after, you're good. What is you doing? MMA Addict says, hit that like button. That's what I'm talking about. Up from 13 to 21. That's 7 motherfuckers that just declared that they're not baby back bagel biting bitch boys. Where the rest of you at? What up, full-time family? But with that being said, let's check this out. DC saying he will defend the UFC light heavyweight title before the end of the year. This is where I need you, full-time family. I need you to know who gets the next light heavyweight title shot, because I'm honestly, I don't know. It's a toss-up. You've got Anthony Smith, who just looked amazing with a knockout over Shogun. But you've got Ilir Latifi, who's had that nice, very impressive submission over OSP, put him to sleep, called out Daniel Cormier on the mic, and said, I'll fight you at light heavyweight or heavyweight. Was really good, big man. So Ilir Latifi is a guy that could get the fight. Oh, but by the way, Corey Anderson just defeated Glover Teixeira, who was ranked number 3. So you've got 3 guys that could beat legit title defenses for Daniel Cormier. And so that's why it's a good time to be a fan, because it seems like we'll probably be the ones that get to choose. I mean, we saw DC do that in the past. Hey, fans, here, vote. Ozdemir or Gustafsson. Ozdemir won the vote. Ozdemir got the fight. DC might as well throw that motherfucking vote up right about now. Latifi, Anderson, or Smith. I mean, why not? It's not like either one of them bring that much more pay-per-view sales than the other one. They're all relatively unknown. Probably, you know what I'm saying? And you probably pick Cormier to beat them all. Now, I would say, in my opinion, Ilir Latifi is probably the most dangerous fighter out of the 3. But Anthony Smith is looking pretty dangerous. But I think Ilir Latifi would be the toughest fight, to be honest. But yeah, so let's see what you guys have to say. Ivan Hernandez says Jones is a liar. We all know that. Book It says Israel ate Yadong. Hassan says love it. Brock juice to the gills. Let him go. We got Weezing336 says, I think Latifi would have the best chance of winning the title. I agree with you, Weezing336, 100%. I think Latifi is one of the best light heavyweights in the world. But where he is tied up is one of his best friends is Alexander Gustafsson. So you put yourself in a shitty situation when you're not the #1 ranked light heavyweight in the world and your teammate is. Because it's like now you're just stuck not fighting for the title unless Daniel Cormier chooses you. You know what I'm saying? But Ilir Latifi, he's stuck in the division. And it was worse for a while because Jimmy Manuwa was in the top 5. You had 3 guys that didn't want to fight each other because they're such good friends, all in the top 5. Jimmy Manuwa, Ilir Latifi, and Alexander Gustafsson. Manuwa lost his last fight to Jan Blachowicz, but you still got Ilir Latifi trying to figure out, how am I going to jump over my best friend to get a title shot without fighting him? And so that's why he's kind of at a little bit of a standstill. But he offered to go up to heavyweight. To his credit, he did offer to go up to heavyweight. And with Gustafsson declaring that he's not going to fight with Cormier declaring that he's not going to fight Gustafsson, maybe now it's now or never for Latifi. Hey, you're not going to fight Gustafsson. I'm right here. Put me in the game, coach. I would love to see the Ilir Latifi fight. I think he's got the best shot. So, with that being said, my mother trucking dog giving prayer says, probably felony Bennett says giving share name. Unemployed Mario Yamasaki says Cormier shouldn't have took Alexander's comments to Rockhold so seriously. I agree, you know. But honestly, I feel like DC, he's been looking for a legitimate reason to not fight Gustafsson, not because he's scared. He's told us why multiple times, but people don't like to hear it. They didn't do great business. He's like, yo, Gustafsson, me and you didn't do good business together. And DC really seems like he's trying to get paid at the end of his career. But with that being said, fighting Anthony Smith or fighting Corey Anderson, that's not how you're going to get paid. Unless you're on a bigger card. Now, if Daniel Cormier fights Ilir Latifi on the same card Conor fights Khabib, it don't matter who you fight because you're getting a little bit of pay-per-view shares. And honestly, realistically, that's the best timeline for Daniel Cormier to fight on that October card with Conor and Khabib. Because if he's going to fight once before January, he can't fight in like November. I mean, he can, but it's pushing it. What if you fight in November and take a lot of damage? You're going to have to heal up and get a training camp in by the time Brock Lesnar is back. So December is off limits if you're going to fight Brock in January. So DC's really going to have to fight in October or November. The earlier the better, the more time he'll have to heal. So if DC can get put on the October pay-per-view, which is where Conor McGregor and Khabib is being targeted right now in Las Vegas, maybe we see DC in Vegas. I wouldn't be surprised if he fought one of those guys in Vegas. So it's a real possibility. Now and Later says, Why these guys allowed to take painkillers? That's like an enhancement. Take shots, no problem. Yeah, I've heard about the cortisone shots. What about painkillers? That's not even just for the pain. That shit helps your mental. You know what I'm saying? So, and honestly, I don't know the policy on painkillers. I don't know if you can go pop 3 perkies right before the fight. I don't know how that goes. But yeah, if you can get cortisone shots and if you can pop pain pills before the fight, that seems like it's going to, I don't know if it's going to enhance or harm your performance, but it's affecting your performance. So, that, you know, there's a little, yeah, weird details with that. When is DC going to get his Modelo TV ad said hair-hatted hooligan? I'm not sure, but I'm sure it's coming soon, DC. I mean, I've been seeing quite a few fighters. I think TJ Dillashaw just had a new commercial. Oh, with Dominic Cruz. If y'all saw that one, I thought that was pretty dope. They did a commercial together. TJ Dillashaw and Dominic Cruz, they're in like a Toyo tire commercial. Pretty dope little commercial there. But yeah, man, I'm seeing a lot of these Metro PCS commercials. Stipe's got the Modelo commercial. You know, these guys are getting a little bit of the paper outside, you know, not just in their fights. You know, if you can get a commercial with Metro PCS or even Modelo, I'm sure that's a pretty nice check as well. But with that being said, DC looking to defend that light heavyweight title. But also another thing going on, another potential champion versus champion super fight. I mean, this is a good transition because we were just talking about how Daniel Cormier, the new champ, might fight on the same card as Conor McGregor, the old champ. But we could be looking at the female champ if Amanda Nunes would quit ducking her motherfucking taco and get in here and fight Chris Cyborg at a card near you. Now, we've got a promising update from Dana White on the situation. Seems like if we're going to see this fight, it'll probably be at the end of the year. I know people aren't going to be too happy about that because Chris Cyborg's ready to fight, which is unfortunate because she's been calling out an opponent for UFC 228. And that's something I'm not going to stick on too much because, I mean, it's not the popular storyline. But we wouldn't have had to see Colby get stripped, which I know a lot of people don't care about that. But Tyron Woodley versus Darren Till, that fight didn't have to be made in such a rush if we just had Cyborg fighting at UFC 228. There's some people that felt like the UFC had to make Till versus Woodley because there was no other fights to make. And that's not 100% true. Chris Cyborg offered, if Amanda Nunes wasn't ready, I'll fight Battlecat Cindy Dandois or Pam Sorensen or fuck it, give me Idian Gomez. She offered to fight a legit featherweight that isn't signed by the UFC, and we've seen the UFC do that before. They signed Yana Kunitskaya at UFC 222 because we needed a title fight. Max Holloway was injured. In comes Yana Kunitskaya fighting Cyborg. They did it before. We already had a title fight at UFC 228 with Valentina Shevchenko versus Nico Montano. So it's not even like we needed a title fight. It helps adding another title fight, but we already had one technically. It wouldn't have did great business probably, but at the same time, if you're in desperate times, call for desperate measures. So instead of stripping Colby Covington, possibly stripping Colby Covington, who just fought 6 weeks ago, and giving Darren Till a title fight, rewarding another guy that missed weight with the title fight. And I love Darren Till, so I'm happy he's getting the opportunity. But the UFC just rewarded another guy who missed weight with a title fight. Also, his fight with Wonderboy wasn't super impressive. A lot of people felt like Wonderboy won. So I think 90% of MMA fans felt like Darren Till didn't deserve a title shot at this point. And with that being said, the reason we were kind of given is because we needed a title fight. It's like, how about we just sign fucking Pam Sorensen or somebody to fight Cyborg? But, you know what I'm saying? It is what it is. Looks like Cyborg might have to wait, which is another shitty situation. Like, what? We've got a healthy champion ready to fight, and she can't fight because Amanda Nunes is trying to bulk up? Like, come on. We've been waiting on this featherweight division. Fucking Megan Anderson could have fought Cyborg right now if you guys didn't feed her to fucking Holly Holm. What are we doing with this featherweight division? The UFC clearly cannot have a plan to make this featherweight division. At least not for Cyborg. We used to have Holly Holm ranked. Now if you go to UFC.com right now, which I'll do, and you go to the rankings, they don't even have Cyborg ranked as a featherweight anymore. I don't know what the fuck they're doing with this featherweight division, but it's completely ludicrous. Look at this. Women's featherweight, no rankings for this selection. We don't even have champion Chris Cyborg up here. We don't have #1 Holly Holm, who's fought 3 times at this division, I believe now. I mean, Holly Holm has literally fought 3 of her last, 4 fights at featherweight? She fought GDR, Chris Cyborg, and Megan Anderson, all at 145. But we don't got Holly Holm or Cyborg even ranked up here. You look at the female featherweight tough that's coming up. They signed a bunch of bantamweights. You look at Edion Gomez and all of these other legit featherweights. Like, who just got signed to fight Kayla Harrison? What's that chick's name? Josette Cotton? Why wasn't she signed as a damn featherweight? What is going on? It seems like the UFC doesn't give a fuck about this featherweight division at all. And so Cyborg is just literally waiting under contract, rotting away. And that's why she's looking at leaving the UFC after her contract is up. Because she said, I'm ready to fight. I get paid to fight, not to wait. So Cyborg's literally just got to sit here and twiddle her fucking thumbs until Amanda Nunes feels like she's ready to fight at the end of the year. Cyborg is ready to fight. She wanted to fight at 228. She said she'd fight at UFC Sao Paulo on a fight night, but the UFC's not giving her an opponent. It's like, what? That almost feels, I don't know the word for it, but like, let's say Cyborg has 1 fight left on her contract. It's almost like the UFC is forcing her to stay with them until they pick the perfect fight for her. And, you know, which is Amanda Nunes, which is the fight the fans want to see, and that's the fight that Dana White feels like he gave us a promising update on. That's the fight he wants to see as well. So, weird situation. It feels like Chris Cyborg's getting fucked over here. She can't fight because the UFC won't sign her an opponent to fight. Amanda Nunes isn't ready to fight. So Cyborg is just sitting on the shelf in the meantime, in between time. But hopefully at the end of the year, Amanda Nunes will gather the courage or the muscle or whatever she feels like she needs to fight Cyborg. And maybe she will get to see this fight. But I have a feeling that even at the end of the year, you're not going to beat Cyborg. It doesn't matter if it happens at 228 or fucking 232. You don't have anything to lose here, especially, and that's another thing about this fight. Amanda Nunes, if you go up to featherweight, you ain't losing your title. If you lose to Amanda Nunes at UFC 2, or if you lose to Cyborg at 228, you get to keep your title, and you could potentially fight again at the end of the year. Fight Caitlin Vieira at the end of the year. What's up with this inactivity if you're not injured? It's just to move up weight classes? Like, okay, you put on 10 pounds of muscle to go up to featherweight. What, are you staying there permanently? Or are you going to have to then take time to change your body back to a bantamweight? It's like this whole situation is really a little bit of a shit show in my mind. But Dana White gave a positive update as far as Nunes versus Cyborg, if that's the fight you're still interested in, which I still want to see the fight. But I got to admit, this is making me less interested in the fight. All of this drama and bullshit and Cyborg having to wait and Amanda Nunes picking and choosing when she wants to fight, it kind of makes me want to see the fight less. It's like, what are we doing here? But I already know how that goes. Once we actually get closer to the fight, I'm going to be like, oh shit, Cyborg has been waiting to put her hands on Amanda Nunes. Amanda Nunes has had all of this time to prepare. She does have the power to potentially hurt Chris Cyborg. She's probably going to be one of the best wrestlers Cyborg has faced. So that's why it's such a great fight. But it's just we're going to have to wait another 4 months before we even see this thing at this point. It's like, well, so we, you know what I'm saying? So it is what it is. But this is what Dana White had to say. That's the fight to make. I don't know when we'll get it done, but that's the fight to make. That's the fight I want. I know that's the fight the fans want. It's the fight that we need to get done. We'll get it done, Dana White said confidently when pressed about, you know, the potential setting for the fight. He said, we'll get it done. So in my mind, probably going to be happening at the end of the year. You know, the end of the year card. That's actually Cyborg. She fought Holly Holm at the end of the last year. She fought on the same card as Khabib when he fought Edson Barboza. UFC 219, end of the year card. Chris Cyborg ending it. So maybe Cyborg fights at the end of the year. You know what I'm saying? Versus Amanda Nunes in Las Vegas. Champion versus champion super fight. I mean, and I'm sure once that time comes, we will all be ready. But yeah, man. Now and later says, Lord, give her Lebica break. She fought 7 weeks ago. Who, Amanda Nunes fought 7 weeks ago? I mean, that's fine and dandy. She can have a break. But does she need a fucking 7-month break? Like, does she need a 3-month break? You know what I'm saying? That's all good. And even if we take Amanda Nunes out of the equation, Chris Cyborg's ready to fight. Why can't we, even if you don't want to sign a featherweight for whatever reason, we'll never understand. Like, why you won't sign Pam Sorensen or Cindy Dandois or Edion Gomez or Josette Cotton? Why you won't sign a legit featherweight to fight Chris Cyborg? We don't know, but all right. How about you take a page out of your own book? Who's the Invicta Bantamweight champion right now? We had Cyborg fight Evinger. We had Cyborg fight Kunitskaya. They ain't got another bantamweight champion. Chris Cyborg can smoke real quick. She's ready to fight. She said herself, I don't get paid to wait. So it is what it is. Even if it's not Amanda Nunes that's holding up this fight, she has alluded to the, she's the one that called out this fight. And I see what you're saying as far as give her a break. She only fought 7 months ago, but she was going to be out for like a medical suspension. But once we find out if she's healthy, I don't see, unless you're just spending your money and just wanting to wait. I mean, that's cool, but I mean, it seems like if you're healthy, you'd be ready to defend your belt, especially if the UFC really needs you, right? If the UFC needs a favor, if the UFC needs a title fight, Cyborg's ready, and you're healthy, I mean, what are we really doing here? And the UFC told Cyborg, she's cleared to fight. So I don't think they would have told Cyborg she was cleared to fight if they didn't potentially need Amanda Nunes to maybe take this fight. But it is what it is. I'm sure we'll see the fight eventually win. Not sure. Hopefully at the end of the year. I mean, that's when it's kind of starting to look like. But hey, it is what it is, man. Whenever Amanda Nunes takes the fight, she seems like she will be ready. Now, with that being said, let me pull up UFC Calgary real quick. This is the part where we'll go over the results of at least the main card of UFC Calgary, and then also some of the news coming out of the post-fight press conference. So let's look at the schedule. We got past events. Alvarez versus Poirier 2. And this was the fight card. So, yeah, not anything crazy on the prelims for us to cover. Islam Makhachev came in, got the win over Cajun Johnson, Jordan Mean. So, yeah, we'll just cover the main card because the main card was completely spectacular all the way through, including Alex Hernandez's win over Olivier Albin Mercier, the Canadian gangster. Alex Hernandez, the great, came in this fight. This was his second UFC fight. He knocked out Beneil Dariush in the first round in his first fight. I tried to tell people this kid doesn't seem like some fucking fluke. He doesn't seem like some hype job. Even after he knocked out a top 15 ranked guy in his UFC debut, he acted like he had been there before, not only once but multiple times. He said, that's exactly what I envisioned. I'm not hyped. I'm not carried away. That was supposed to happen tonight. We've got a plan. This is bigger than me. This is for my team. Like he's not even looking at himself as a goddamn fighter. He said, this is bigger than me. Like, he's got such a fucking bigger purpose in this sport right now. Calculated down to the T, hard worker, very skilled wrestler. I mean, people used to look at him as a one-dimensional wrestler before he got to the UFC and earned that first-round knockout over Beneil Dariush. But with that being said, his wrestling skills might be some of the best in the lightweight division. Olivier Albin Mercier at one point in this fight shot for a takedown, and Alex Hernandez just completely reversed it, like out-muscled him and threw him on the floor. Alex Hernandez is not fucking around. Real deal. Now he just picked up another win over a guy who could be in the top 15 of the UFC's lightweight division. OAM was in the top 15 with his win over Evan Dunham, his own first-round knockout. But somebody else jumped in the top 15, and since he was number 15, he got knocked right out to number 16, so he was right outside. But still, Olivier Albin Mercier is a very well-rounded fighter who was fighting at home, and Alex Hernandez came in and got the job done. Very impressive performance by Alex Hernandez, and that was the only fight that on the main card that didn't have a former champion in it. We saw Joanna Jędrzejczyk come in and successfully defend her contendership against Tecia Torres. That was a fight. Tecia Torres, she had a lot to fight for, but Joanna Jędrzejczyk, she's the queen of the division, the uncrowned queen of the division. I mean, I know Rose is the queen, but I mean, after Joanna Jędrzejczyk's performance, I think it's safe to say she's got her mind set on reclaiming that crown. Will she be able to? Probably not as long as Rose Namajunas is the champion, but that's not how MMA math works. Just because Rose Namajunas beat Joanna Jędrzejczyk doesn't mean she's going to go on to defend her belt 7 times in a row like Joanna was able to do, or 6 times. You know, Rose Namajunas very likely has a super tough matchup in her next title defense versus Jessica Andrade. That's a fight that Jessica Andrade could very well win. And if she does, maybe that's Joanna Jędrzejczyk's path back to the title. She's already beat Jessica Andrade once, so if Jessica Andrade can become the champion, Joanna can rematch her potentially and get that crown back before maybe moving to flyweight. I mean, that's a fight a lot of people want to see. Joanna at flyweight, specifically against Valentina Shevchenko. And I feel like Joanna Jędrzejczyk, it's going to take her a little time to get back to the title, because clearly we have to see how Jessica Andrade does against Karolina Kowalkiewicz. After that, we've got to hear about Rose Namajunas' injury time frame. You know what I'm saying? It seems like she's taking a little time off to heal up. Joanna Jędrzejczyk believes she's taking time off to avoid Jessica Andrade, which we're going to give Rose Namajunas the benefit of the doubt because we like her, but it is a little convenient when you're the champion and there's a really scary #1 contender and you're injured, right? We kind of saw this, and like I said, we're not going to go all the way with the comparison, but Jermaine Durandamy became the champion at featherweight, Cyborg #1 contender, and we saw multiple reasons. Hey, I'm injured, at police academy, she took steroids, so there's a lot of reasons she ended up giving to not fight Chris Cyborg. Now, I do think Rose Namajunas is going to take on Jessica Andrade when she's back, but Joanna Jędrzejczyk feels like she might be ducking her taco a little, you know what I'm saying? But I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt, unless she comes out with some other reason she can't fight Mini Cyborg. And that's something you have to keep in mind here too, right? This is Mini Cyborg. We saw it happen at featherweight with the real Cyborg. Now we got Mini Cyborg down here, Jessica Andrade, who ragdolled one of the best grapplers in the strawweight division in Claudia Gadelha. She's waiting for that title fight, and she's not waiting in the sense of, you know, kind of like Valentina Shevchenko. She's not just waiting because she already earned it. She's fighting Karolina Kowalkiewicz in the meantime. Jessica Andrade could have just sat back and waited, you know, for the title fight, like Valentina Shevchenko did whenever she beat Priscilla Cachoeira. You know, everyone kind of felt like, all right, Valentina's going to be the champion, give her a title fight. But Nico was out for a while, and so Valentina might have been able to pick up another win in the meantime, but she wanted to stay ready for Nico. And so now we're kind of seeing this go down at the strawweight division, you know what I'm saying? But Jessica Andrade, she's not waiting. She's like, okay, I know I deserve a title shot, but fuck it. I'll fight Karolina. You're injured? All right, I'll fight Karolina. I don't get paid to wait. Kind of like Big Cyborg. Mini Cyborg don't get paid to wait either. So if you feel like you're the best fighter in the division, why not fight another person? If you know what I'm saying? Just to get a paycheck, unless you don't need the paycheck. So that's an interesting situation. But Joanna Jędrzejczyk definitely has a path back to the title with, you know, if Jessica Andrade can beat Rose. But if Rose beats Jessica Andrade, I don't know if Joanna will ever get this title back, you know, unless she wins 1, 2 more fights, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, moving to the co-main event, we had Jose Aldo and Jeremy Stephens. Dan from Oregon says Caitlin versus Evinger in Sao Paulo. Yeah, I heard about that fight recently announced. Actually, I believe we're going to talk about that. It is right here, actually. But yeah, we're going to talk about that and then pretty soon coming up. But yeah, that's going to be a fight where Caitlin Vieira, she was kind of promised a title fight, but she doesn't get paid to wait. She's not going to wait on it, especially in the bantamweight division. With Holly Holm, she's always got a title shot coming to her. With Amanda Nunes possibly being out until her super fight, like, Caitlin Vieira is going to definitely have to fight. She might have to fight again, as crazy as that sounds. I mean, you had the UFC, I believe, Amanda Nunes. A lot of people said that Caitlin Vieira might be next for the title fight, but with Holly Holm back in the picture, with Amanda Nunes, champ versus champ fight in the picture, Caitlin Vieira might be in one of those situations kind of like Dustin Poirier or Eddie Alvarez, where I'm just going to have to keep fighting. Who knows when I'm going to get this damn title shot? Yeah, I probably do deserve it. But that's not how it works. The person who deserves the title shot doesn't always get it. And that might go on with Caitlin Vieira. So, but with that being said, though, we had Jose Aldo versus Jeremy Stephens. What a fucking body shot by Jose Aldo. Jeremy Stephens, he took him out, man. Jeremy Stephens was looking to fight Brian Ortega not too long ago in an interim title fight after Max Holloway pulled out. But Brian Ortega didn't take the fight, so Jeremy Stephens still stayed in this fight with Jose Aldo, looking to get his title shot with a win over the former Kingpin Jose Aldo, who was coming off of 2 losses, right? Jose Aldo was coming off of 2 losses in a row to Max Holloway, and that really kind of shows you how good Max Holloway is. He was able to beat Jose Aldo twice in a similar fashion. Jeremy Stephens has been looking amazing, broke into the top 4 of the featherweight division, and Jose Aldo came in here and put him away like old-time Jose. You know, so that was a huge performance by Jose Aldo. Former Kingpin came into this fight probably feeling a little disrespected. Underdog, I mean, those odds on Jose Aldo are probably unimaginable 4 years ago. Would you imagine you'd be seeing Jose Aldo as a plus 145 underdog against Jeremy Stephens? Unfathomable. So that was actually some good value if you were betting. But if you weren't betting, still a crazy fight. probably weren't expecting Jose Aldo to come in here off of those 2 losses and look that good. Now you wonder what's next for Aldo. And also, man, this is why I don't really buy into that visualization shit. You know how they tell you to visualize your goal and then one day it'll show up and be there. Like, if you visualize $1 million, if every day you daydream about $1 million, one day you're gonna have $1 million. Maybe that's true, but you're gonna have to put some fucking work in to get to that million. But here, Jose Aldo, why I bring that up is because he was talking about, yeah, man, you know, before the fight, he was talking about, yeah, I could see myself retiring from the sport, you know, talking about maybe soccer, and he was visualizing him being retired himself. He was visualizing himself away from the sport. So if that shit really worked, you know, you might have thought that came to fruition. Jose Aldo was talking, and you know what they say, when you're talking about retiring as a fighter, you might need to go on and do that. There was a lot of that coming from Jose Aldo before the fight. Like, yeah, man, I don't know how much time I got left in the sport. I don't really know what I'm going to do after the sport. I can see myself retiring early and yada. Just talking a lot about, you know, getting away from the sport. And then here he comes with this big, crazy knockout over Jeremy Stephens. Body shot, looking like a young or an old Aaron Pico in there. But, hey, man, it is what it is. Huge win from the former champion, Jose Aldo. Kadbari Hardwell says Max is way better than we know. I know, man. Hopefully Max gets well soon. You know, we can see him come back and defend that crown. Rugby Queen in the building. What is up, sister? We got Kadbari Hardwell says, one of the greats, Aldo. Yeah, man. One of the greatest fighters of all time, not just featherweights. Jose Aldo does not get recognized as one of the greatest fighters of all time. And it's probably because of his losses to Max Holloway, the repeated losses, and then, of course, the knockout to Conor McGregor. Having those 3 losses in 4 fights, people kind of threw Jose Aldo out of that conversation. But with a big win over Jeremy Stephens like he got, it kind of reminds you, oh, yeah, he was one of the best fighters in the world. Just because he lost to Conor McGregor and Max Holloway, who are 2 absolute fucking studs, doesn't mean he's trash. So I think it was a wake-up call for everybody that was asleep on Aldo at UFC Calgary. But as for a lot of the fans, they didn't even see the fight. This card bombed on the TV ratings. No one was watching this shit. Maybe they checked the replays or the highlights, but nobody was watching this damn card. That's still crazy. But let's move to the main event. We got Alvarez versus Poirier. The fight played out a little bit similar to the first fight, with Dustin Poirier getting the better of Eddie Alvarez, but this time he was able to actually come out with the finish. Dustin Poirier, I believe, was it the 3rd round or was it the 2nd round? 2nd round. It was the 2nd round. He got the knockout over Eddie Alvarez, former lightweight champion, man. I'm looking at this card still, and I'm thinking about how fucking stacked it was, because I was thinking Eddie Alvarez is the former lightweight champion, Jose Aldo, former champion, Joanna Jacek, former champion. I mean, I'm just looking at this card like, how the fuck was no one paying attention? But hey, it is what it is, man. Casual fans are the deciders. Even hardcore fans, what the fuck? We ain't got 150,000 hardcore fans? What are you talking about? The hardcore fans should have been all in attendance for this card. Everybody. What's going on, man? Hey, it is what it is. But main event, Dustin Poirier came out on top, moved that much closer to that lightweight title strap, but he's still far away. I mean, it's the lightweight or the log jam division, whichever you want to call it. Stamina MC says lowest ratings ever for UFC on Fox. Not ever. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. UFC on, same difference, man. UFC on Fox ever, UFC Fight Night. I'm not, yeah, that's what I mean. UFC on Fox, but it's the same. It's kind of the same difference, because you're comparing it to cards like Brunson versus what? Who did he just fight? Gastelum, Jacare. Brunson versus Jacare. Weidman versus Gastelum. Like, you're comparing it to some other UFC on Fox cards, but you're gonna tell me Brunson versus Jacare drew more TV ratings than this card? How? In what fucking world? How does Brunson and Jacare do better than Alvarez Poirier? And then the cards, there's no way it was as stacked. It's nothing on Jacare and Brunson specifically. I'm just saying that main event is not as good as this main event. Number 3, number 4 guys in the most stacked division in the UFC. How is Brunson and Jacare doing bigger numbers than this card? Because not only did this fight itself should have did more numbers than that fucking card, in my opinion. But you also had Aldo versus Stephens and Joanna versus Torres. I don't understand how this card did less than fucking Brunson versus Jacare. That's why I'm so confused. But hey, it is what it is, man. could Barry Hard versus terrible promotion by Fox and the UFC. You might have a good point there, man. If you're the UFC, I don't know what the fuck you were doing to promote this card, but you needed to get this out there somehow, some way, to more of the fans. People know who these fighters are. They might have just needed to be let known the fight's going down. We know it's Dana White's birthday weekend and you're stacking the card, but do the casual fans know? I don't think the fucking microwave, you need to promote this thing. Hey everybody, Eddie Alvarez and Dustin Poirier could be fighting for the lightweight title, if not for the division being, you know, having Conor McGregor and Khabib reigning over it. You ain't even got to use the word logjam because you're trying to promote. But you could just fucking run an epic promo on each of these fights. Literally, all 4 fights on the main card. All of these fights were epic for their own reasons. Joanna Jędrzejczyk, first time we're seeing her as a contender, not fighting for the title. This is the first Joanna Jędrzejczyk non-title fight we've seen in probably 5 years. She's looking to claim her shit back and fight Tecia Torres. You could have even went into promoting Tecia Torres a little bit like Tecia Torres, the significant other of Raquel Pennington, who just fought Amanda Nunes for the World Championship, and you could have talked about that for a little bit, as well as Joanna Jędrzejczyk, and we ain't even at the fucking co-main event yet. Who the fuck is that guy? I'll tell you exactly who the fuck this is. This is Jeremy Stephens riding a 3-fight winning streak, coming off some of the most brutal KOs you'll see in the featherweight division, taking on the former kingpin Aldo, who, yeah, he might have got set back by Max Holloway and Conor McGregor, but they're the 2 best featherweights in the world. You can never count Jose Aldo out. You know how much dope shit went into these fights? How much promotion? How much, just as a fucking fan, how much love there is for these fights? It's fucking baffling. So I like your point there. There's no way if you put this in front of all of the fans, the biggest possible audience, people aren't watching this shit. So this really might have had something to do with the promoting. I really agree with that. Stamina MC says, because this is another type of MMA math that doesn't work. The fighters, the card itself, isn't the single deciding factor as to how well it does or doesn't do. There's no formula for success. Put Conor McGregor around, there's some formulas for success, but no. I feel like there might be a formula of success, but this is something we can't really talk about as fans, not educatedly. We can't have a real discussion on this because we don't know exactly how much marketing went into UFC Calgary as opposed to UFC Brunson versus Jacare. We don't know what events were competing with each of these events. Like, there's a lot of X factors that you can't really put your finger on without having the details. So that's why I don't like talking about shit I don't feel like I know about. So I don't really want to have that conversation. But I still feel like, regardless, even if you're just a hardcore MMA fan, if you see this card, you're probably watching this card. And I feel like there's more than 130,000 hardcore fans. So I just feel like these numbers should have been higher. And I don't think it's wrong to feel like that. We all fucking loved this card. Before, during, and after this card, it was a great card. The only way people aren't paying attention to this shit is if they didn't know it was happening or they only want to see that title. You know, because the only difference between this and a stacked fucking pay-per-view is the pretty picture of the belt. You know what I'm saying? I mean, because these are former champions fighting, so it's unfortunate what's going on with the ratings, but maybe it has something to do with there was no drama. All of the fighters missed weight. No fucking dollies were thrown before the bus. Maybe that's why the UFC is turning into a big drama show, because they realize if you amp shit up before a fight, and not intentionally, but if shit gets amped up before a fight, it makes people go, huh? What's happening in the UFC? Wait, who's throwing dollies? Wait, there's a card this weekend. Fuck it, we ain't doing nothing else. Let's watch the fights. You know, but whenever there's no drama going into it, it's like an all-time low. I don't recall anybody missing weight for UFC 225. You know, just that's something interesting that I'm keeping my eye on. Maybe not something you guys give a fuck about, but I kind of feel like maybe that's something that has to do with. Maybe it's because there's not as much of a big drama show before this card. And what some people might not realize what that big drama show comes with. It's not just, oh my God, you know, the drama aspect. It brings in headlines. Whenever Conor McGregor threw that fucking dolly, ESPN picked it up. All the shows on ESPN and Fox, Dan Le Batard, Jim Rome, they were probably all talking about Conor McGregor. So whenever you can get shit to go on that gets people talking, that's when the fights pick up. But if you just got no drama going into a fight card, and it's just everything's all right, we're going to see some cool fights, no one missed weight, Nobody pushed each other at the weigh-ins. Nobody was talking trash. Nobody said his mama ain't got no left hitty. You know, there ain't nothing going on. People don't want to see the fight. You know what I'm saying? You can have Eddie Alvarez and Dustin Poirier fight in a gym, and if no one knows it's happening, no one's going to watch, you know. But if everybody heard Eddie Alvarez say, "Oh, Dustin Poirier's mama ain't got no right nipple," and they heard Dustin Poirier respond with, "What? Fuck you, you dirty fight motherfucker," that's going to make people go, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, we got some real heat here." I think it might have something to do with that, but like my guy Stamina MC said, it's kind of hard to tell and put your finger on the pulse of why such stacked cards are doing such low numbers, because just outside looking in, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but maybe, you know, there's something going on. There was like a Mikey Garcia fight. I don't know much about all of the boxers, but that's not one of the biggest names, right? Like Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder, Manny Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather. He's not one of their biggest stars. So, I mean, yeah, you might get all the boxing fans, but you ain't getting the damn MMA fans to not watch this card. Alvarez, Poirier, Aldo, Stevens. There's no fucking MMA fans that are going to tune in to Mikey Garcia versus whoever he was fighting over this stacked-ass card. You might watch them both, but you're not going to pick that one over this one. Not if you're a real MMA fan. I hope you're wrong full time, but that seems to be the status quo as of late in the UFC. Worrying times, in my opinion. I really think that has a lot to do with it, man. You see the UFC, we're going in this entertainment aspect, man, and and if you listen to Chael Sonnen, who, I mean, it's a podcast for the more hardcore fans, which is why casual fans aren't super privy to this information, but I've heard him talk about that. Whenever crazy shit happens and dollies get thrown, it does get talked about by every single show on ESPN all day. It does get talked about on Fox Sports 1. It gets picked up by all the media websites. So there's a lot more people talking, and Microwave is reading the article on ESPN. You got this guy who just happened to be watching First Take, heard a little bit about it. So now everybody at least knows it's happening. Before Alvarez versus Poirier, how many talking points were there? What could motherfucking Skip Bayless say to Shannon Sharp? Oh, yeah, that Eddie Alvarez, he sure did have a good fight with Conor McGregor. What are they going to talk about? Oh, did you see Eddie Alvarez throw the fucking crowbar at Dustin Poirier's car? Like, if some shit like that happened, everyone would be talking about it and would make people pay attention. I really feel like that's going to be a lesson learned from some of these low pay-per-view numbers. But, hey, it is what it is, though. Now, later said 5 years ago, before I trained, I knew who Chuck Liddell was. I hated watching sports. Unemployed, yeah, Mario Hamasaki says, yeah, that ain't mainstream either. Yeah, a lot of these ain't mainstream, so that's why I'm a little more comfortable talking about it on my channel as well. But first, I was like, yo, should I not talk about some of, like, the insider secrets I hear on these other podcasts? But I'm like, if you're listening to me, you're probably pretty hardcore as well, so I don't really feel like I'm spilling the tea on the UFC when I talk about some of these things. But hey, man, where's Kenshiro Ryu says mediocre a-hole, a.k.a. Bada Bing Jr.? All right, let's move to the next topic, though. We talked about the card, the numbers. We got a few more things to talk about after the fights. Dustin Poirier says he doesn't want to call Eddie Alvarez a dirty fighter, but we've got to draw the line somewhere. Interesting situation how this fight played out. You guys remember the 12-6 elbow Eddie Alvarez threw. And in the first fight, it ended in a little controversy. Definitely threw that illegal knee. So Eddie Alvarez, you know, maybe a little bit of veteran moves. I mean, you don't want to call someone like Eddie Alvarez a dirty fighter because you have so much respect for the guy and the wars that he's been in. But with being a veteran comes veteran moves. Maybe you pull the veteran move sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Does it make you a dirty fighter? Not necessarily. If you're not going into every single fight looking for a way to poke someone in the eye or kick them in the dick or find some way to cheat, I'm not going to call you a dirty fighter. But it's just so happened in both of his fights with Poirier, he happened to try and utilize some veteran moves to his advantage. Whether it was the knee to the dome ski, whether it was the 12-6 elbow that didn't actually connect with Poirier's head, Eddie Alvarez had a couple questionable situations play out in those fights. But this is what Poirier had to say. I don't want to say somebody's a dirty fighter, but the first fight, you need me. The second fight, you tried to elbow me illegally and you gave me a wet willy. We've got to draw the line somewhere. He said, according to Poirier, those weren't the only fouls Alvarez committed. The weird thing is, when I had him in the guillotine, he stuck his finger in my ear and was pulling me down, and the ref warned him. He put his finger right back in my ear. So this is an old dog that knows a lot of tricks. You know what I'm saying? That's that veteran move. You know, you ain't gonna call him dirty because you got respect for Alvarez, but he was trying to get the win however you can. You can't be mad at that. You got to get in, you know, hopefully the referee don't see you. You know, there ain't nothing wrong with that. If the ref don't see it, the ref don't see it. Now, if you're known for doing that every single fight, you'll probably get known as a dirty fighter. But I ain't gonna lie, man. If the ref didn't see it, Dustin Poirier still won the fight. It is what it is. Now, we'll keep an eye on that situation. Like, if Alvarez comes into his next fight, we're doing some dirty stuff, we might need to re-raise this question. But Dustin Poirier is just a very talented fighter. Eddie Alvarez had a lot to fight for. And maybe he felt like Poirier was getting the better of him. Maybe he felt like he needed the veteran tricks. You know, so, Haiti says 65 each month. Way too expensive. Yeah. Please stop with this every time you come in, mediocre a-hole. Literally, nobody but you cares. It's mad ignorant talking stuff about nobody else in the chat room. Please stop. Yeah, mediocre a-hole. Ain't no reason to just come in here and go at motherfuckers done. I think I already spoke on that one time. You ain't got to do it every time you're in here. You know what I'm saying? At least hop in the conversation. Don't just come in here starting shit with people who might enjoy the channel. I know you don't fuck with Kenshiro Ryu necessarily because he fucks with other channels. But hey, he ain't coming over here trolling me. If he says some shit behind my back, you know what I'm saying? I don't need you coming and telling me, hey, he said you were fat time on the other channel. Maybe he was trying to get some cool points, motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is. I appreciate you holding me down, but it is still a little, I feel like, I don't know the word, not distracting, but, not even harmful. I'm trying to think of a word. Fucking like you're taking away from what we're trying to build toward. We're trying to grow the full-time family. You know what I'm saying? Not trying to alienate motherfuckers like, hey, remember what you said 3 weeks ago? You shouldn't even be watching this channel. Fuck that. If you're going to come through and leave a thumbs up, I appreciate it. You know, we ain't got no thumbs down, so say whatever you want about Kenshiro Ryu, but he ain't over here motherfucking signing in on 10 different accounts, hitting thumbs down like a real no-life having troll. So I fuck with Kenshiro. You know what I'm saying? And when he's over here, he's respectful. Now and later says, stuck a wet finger in his ear. That's classic. Yeah, that's a new one. You know what I'm saying? But yeah. Moving on. What did he say? But when we gonna make Mike Dahmer be a man of his troll word and actually fight our boy full time? Whenever it's not about making him fight me. Somebody needs to make him either be able to afford to pay me. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not just fighting him just because he gets angry. It's a money situation. I got work I could be doing on the channel, off the channel. I got a whole lot of shit to be doing with my time right about now that don't involve fighting that fat four-eyed fuck that wants some smoke. You know, but I'll give it to him. But like I said, it's going to be $5,000 to show. So that it's going to take that. If nobody's talking about paying for that shit, we don't even need to be talking about that fat fuck boy. But with that being said, that's where I stand on the situation. Let's continue. We got 1 or 2 more topics to talk about before we get out of here for the day. Yanni on J-Chick says, I will never say Rose Namajunas is the best strawweight. We talked about this a little bit. Yanni on J-Chick a little delusional, but at the same time, I hear where she's coming from, and you can't blame her. If you're going to be a fighter, you're supposed to feel like you're the best fighter in the world. And if you've defended the damn title 6-7 times in a row, you definitely should feel like you're the best fighter in the world. You know, Rose Namajunas might be the queen for right now, but she still hasn't done what Yanni on J-Chick has done. She still hasn't defended her title more than once yet. Yanni on J-Chick defeated everybody in the top 5 so far. Rose hasn't did that yet. So no, Yanni on J-Chick isn't going to come out and say she's the best strawweight. Not until you at least, you know what I'm saying, do half of what I did. You ain't even beat 3 fighters in the top 5, let alone cleared out the whole motherfucking division like Big Joanna, you know what I'm saying? So, I hear what she's saying and where she's coming from, but when she starts talking about bow down and telling Rose Namajunas to bow down, that's where I start pulling back. Pulling back, you know what I'm saying? What's going on? What's going on? We got JJ as a savage, says Trevi McTrev. Hold on. I'm trying to see what's going on in the chat, low-key. It's getting interesting. Johnny5 said, you know if you lose a tooth, that 5K is gone. I'm not going to lose a tooth. I'm a very smart motherfucking fighter. That contract better be lit. That contract better be lit. I can't give away the fight, my fight plan. But I'm just going to say, if his contract ain't right, I'm going to be $5,000 richer, and I ain't going to be paying for no damage. And on top of that, you pay $5,000, his motherfucking, bro, I'm not worried about this dude. It ain't like you're giving me $5,000 to go fight fucking Francis Ngannou. We're talking about some fat four-eyed fuck that's fucking 45 years old that thinks he wants some smoke because he's jealous. I'm not worried about that guy. But with that being said, Terry Crow said Ariel did an interview with Max. I'm going to have to check that out. what you do in Kansas says now and later. Are you asking what I do, or what are you saying, like how we do, or what's the question? Reason336 says you want to win the second fight though, but it was so close the judges gave it to the champ. You're correct, because in order to be the champ, you have to beat the champion. Trevi McTrev says Rose is going to lose to Andrade. That's a very real possibility. That weird guy says KSMO don't do nothing but a visit family. Kansas City, Missouri don't do nothing but visit family. Yeah, man, I grind. You know what I'm saying? I motherfucking watch MMA, motherfucking hop on the Fortnite, and I ain't even got a family to visit, so motherfucking we just be grinding down here. But I mean, you can go to a fucking bar, you know, pick up some chicks, but you can do that everywhere. I mean, I honestly don't know what the fuck y'all be doing in these big cities. Then you make it seem like it's so cool. Like, oh, there's nothing to do in Kansas. You ain't doing shit in California but motherfucking playing Fortnite and watching UFC too. What are you doing? You going to the fucking juice bar before you walk back home? And not just California. What the fuck are you doing out in motherfucking Washington? You going to the museum before the bar? How much shit can you really do? You going out, maybe you can go on a fucking boat or something, or go skiing, some white people shit, but I don't really feel like I'm missing out on too much in Kansas. I mean, I got my motherfucking electronics. I'm connected to the world. I got the best house in the seats when I'm watching the fights. You know what I'm saying, Pop? I don't know. Maybe I am missing out, but I'm comfortable, brother. Nice hat, dude, says Trev. I appreciate it, good sir. But with that being said, let's continue. I mean, Rose, Yoni on J-Check, she's getting her point off. We talked about that a little bit already, but now it's time, though. Now it's time for my favorite topic of the whole show. Two-time Olympic gold medalist Kayla Harrison returning to PFL 6. Let's motherfucking go! Let's go! This might be my favorite WMMA fighter already, and I don't even know why. I'm just drawn to Kayla Harrison, her potential. Holy smokes, this might be the best WMMA fighter in the world 3 years from now. In 2020, she's going to be fighting Cyborg maybe for the first time. I don't know if she's going to win the first fight. Might need the rematch. But I do know that Kayla Harrison is coming, and she's coming in a major way. When you think about Ronda Rousey, I want you to erase that from your mind and then add all type of extra shit. And that's where you get Kayla Harrison. Because she's not a bronze medalist. She's a gold medalist. She didn't just do it once. She did it twice. She's not a bantamweight. She's a fucking lightweight. Not a featherweight, a lightweight. She's fighting at 155 pounds with some serious grappling skills that kill and are going to be paying the bills. Two-time Olympic gold medalist Kayla Harrison's returning at PFL 6. And oh, by the way, it's only her second pro fight, but it's not against some motherfucking scrub. She ain't throwing some 5-5, 4-4, 500 fighter at Kayla Harrison. Fuck no. She's taking on, what's her name? Josette Cotton, who is 8-1. Very dangerous striker. Now, Kayla Harrison, you might think, will have the cardio advantage, maybe the grappling advantage coming into this fight, but she's going against a girl that is 8-1. Only one other fighter has been able to beat Josette Cotton to date, and this is a girl with a legitimate size. You know, Josette Cotton, if you look at her shirt off, she's coming in between 145 and 155 pounds. She's definitely in that featherweight, lightweight range, and so this Kayla Harrison, it's not like she's motherfucking fighting a bunch of bantamweights on her way over to the UFC. She's literally legitimately fighting girls as big, if not bigger, than Chris Cyborg, en route to her potential super fight in the future. And I'm sorry, I don't want to fucking get ahead of myself, but I'm already there. It's happening. Kayla Harrison's got a lot of fights to win, but she can do it. She's got the skills. We saw what the hell Ronda Rousey was able to do, becoming the UFC champion and successfully defending her belt how many times with her bronze medal? What the fuck you think she's about to do with these 2 gold medals? She's about to shove them up some... I'm just kidding. No, but seriously, Kayla Harrison is the real deal. She's got skills. We saw her dominant grappling in her pro debut, and people were saying, oh yeah, but she only fought Brittany Elkin. She was 3-4. Like, yeah, but it was her debut. You can't tell me who Ronda Rousey fought in her debut. You can't tell me who Conor McGregor fought in his fucking debut. You can't tell me who Floyd Mayweather, Khabib. You cannot tell me who any of these motherfuckers fought in their pro debut. You know why? Because they weren't shit yet. No one cared. They can fight a fucking 0-5 shit can, and no one's gonna say, oh, look, Conor McGregor fought a bum in his first fight. Because it's his first fight. You're supposed to. You know how all these fucking boxers go up to 50-0 and 40-0 and 35-0? Because they fight a bunch of cans on the way up. They crush cans. They don't start fighting legitimate challenges their first pro fight? Kayla Harrison did, and she's upgrading from Brittany Elkins in her debut all the way up to motherfucking Josette Cotton in her second fight, 8-1. Please show me another fighter that fought somebody with a record of 8-1 in their second pro fight. Please tell me. And if she comes in here and looks great against Josette Cotton, I'm turning the notch even more up. I'm turning it even more up. I mean, I thought 2020 might be a little too early to be looking at Kayla Harrison versus Cris Cyborg, just because, you know, Kayla Harrison's just now starting her MMA career. Cyborg's a lot more established. I was like, 2020 might be a little too early, maybe 2021, but I was already kind of balls deep in this 2020 campaign. But now that I'm seeing Kayla Harrison fighting a girl in Josette Cotton that is 8-1 in her second pro fight, oh, she's going to be ready for Cyborg by fight 7. I'm telling you right now, dude. Give her 3 fights a year until 2020. Give her 1 fight in the beginning of 2020, and we're coming for Cyborg, whether it be in Bellator, UFC, or the motherfucking Invicta, PFL, wherever Kayla Harrison has to go to become the greatest WMMA fighter of all time, and she knows, she said herself, the only way to do that is to surpass Cris Cyborg. She said, I'm not getting into this sport to be number 2. I'm not getting into this sport for a silver medal. Everything I've done, everything I do, everything I'll ever do, I want to be the best at, the greatest. And I know who people look at as the greatest right now, Cris Cyborg. I wouldn't be getting into this sport if I didn't think I could beat her one day. So let's motherfucking go. Y'all got Kayla Harrison big fucked up if you're not on the train yet. But she's taking on Josette Cotton at PFL 6. I can't wait. I'm going to be watching. Popcorn's already popping. That shit might be stale by then, but I don't give a fuck. I'm still eating it because I can't wait to see Kayla Harrison fight at PFL 6. I think I've convinced you guys enough that I can't wait. But that being said, we've only got a couple more things to talk about before we get out of here. Super Cash ain't got nothing on deck. Super Cash, he definitely didn't want any smoke. I've offered him the call. You know how it goes, mediocre a-hole. All these guys got an open invitation to the troll call, and I know you enjoy them because you be trying to get people on them all the time. Put them in on deck, put them in on deck. But they just don't, they're just not ready. So it is what it is, man. But here's the thing, though. Cyborg might not be around long enough for Kayla to level up. Cyborg might not be around in the UFC. Shit, Cyborg might go over to Bellator, take that title from Julia Budd. She might want to beat Sinead Kavanaugh once or twice. Cyborg might head over to Bellator, and if that's the case, Kayla Harrison might follow her to Bellator. I don't think Kayla Harrison's going to want to be the UFC champion if she can't get a win over Cyborg. I'm sure she wants to participate in the biggest stage, the UFC. But if Cyborg ain't there, I think Kayla Harrison has her mind on bigger and better things. It would suck if Kayla Harrison got to the UFC right as Cyborg was leaving. Oh, I would fucking hate that. But I'm not going to do that to myself. I'm not being a Debbie Downer. Stamina MC says Kayla might end up #1 by default. She's going to be #1 by skill. Now and later said, nah, she said she's not letting Cyborg retire without fighting her. Let's motherfucking go! That's what I'm talking about now and later with the Kayla Harrison update. That's all I needed, a mother truck in here. You think Kayla Harrison's coming into this support and going to be in the shadow of Cris Cyborg? Heck no, I don't give a damn if you're in Bellator, PFL, Invicta, any of that shit. I'm coming for the board. Kayla Harrison's not coming for a UFC title. She's not coming to be the queen of the UFC's non-existent ass featherweight division. She's coming to be the Cyborg killer. I fuck with Cyborg. That feels disrespectful, but I'm just telling you, it feels more right when I call Kayla Harrison the Cyborg killer than it feels disrespectful when I'm just saying the Cyborg potentially has someone that can challenge her sometime in the future. But yo, Unemployed Mario Yamasaki says, I think Cyborg murks her. I mean, yeah, if they fought tomorrow, but I'm telling you, it's already, even if they fought tomorrow, it would be a better chance than you probably thought. Cyborg ain't really just been, you men are gassed, said Stamina MC. I'm all the way gassed on Kayla Harrison. There ain't no motherfucking turning back, dog. We already broke the brake pedal off, homie. We were pedal to the floor. I'm fucking with Kayla Harrison, and I don't think anyone's going to beat her in the meantime, in between time, so we're sitting pretty. But yeah, man, Now and Later says she said even if it's 2 more, she'd rather take the challenge than not take it. Yo, I want to fight her before she's out of here. If Cyborg's talking about moving, fuck it. I'll fight her my 4th fight in. I might lose, but I'm down for the challenge, and that makes me like Kayla Harrison that much more. There's nothing that pretty much she said that hasn't made me more a fan. I don't think there's anything Cyborg can say, Kayla Harrison can say. I think it's pretty much official. Kayla Harrison's going all the way, you know what I'm saying? But she's proven it. She's already went all the way in judo 2 times. two-time Olympic gold medalist. Mediocre a-hole said yes, given sure name. None of them got no man on deck. They sure don't. Let's go full-time, family. We got 1 or 2 topics to talk about before we get out of here. 3 exciting fights announced for Sao Paulo. The only one I really saw was Ketlen Vieira versus Tanya Evinger. We talked about that a little bit. Ketlen Vieira kind of having to just take a fight because the division's getting log jammed, with Amanda Nunes wanting to wait to whenever to fight, you know, Cyborg. Holly Holmes in the picture. So Ketlen Vieira, who was once promised a title shot, is no longer getting a title shot, but this is nothing new. She's going to be taking on the former featherweight title challenger, Tanya Evinger, who actually came over as a bantamweight, but she got signed to fight Cyborg, so she fought her first fight at featherweight. That was kind of her way in the UFC. Oh, so you want to be a UFC fighter? All right, lose to Cyborg, and then you can come on down. So that Tanya Evinger kind of got thrown there. Ketlen Vieira's a girl that's been looked at as the next title challenger, but there's too much going on. So even with a win over Tanya Evinger, Ketlen Vieira might not get the next title fight, because if Amanda Nunes wants to fight Cyborg, and then if she beats her, who knows what happens. If she loses to Cyborg, she might, you know, she's taking this time to put on weight and go up, and then she might need more time to not only spend her champion versus champion money, but also come back down to her natural weight class. So maybe Ketlen Vieira fights Holly Holm in an interim title fight after this, but we still got a ways to go before it seems like Amanda Nunes is actually going to be fighting at 135 again, unless it's against Holly Holm, and in that case, Ketlen Vieira is still getting skipped. So I think Ketlen Vieira might actually have to fight 2 more times before fighting Amanda Nunes, and one of those might be against Holly Holm. So we'll see what happens, but still a fun fight here between Vieira and Evinger. Let's see the other fights that were announced, though. Neil Magny, Dan Henderson, bada boom, bada boom. Here's just the rest of the card so far. You got Sam Alvey versus Little Nog, Ketlen Vieira versus Tanya Evinger, Neil Magny versus Cowboy Oliveira. That's a good fight. Ben Saunders versus Sergio Moraes. I mean, Sam Alvey, all of the fights up to this point were good fights, but Ben Saunders returning against Sergio Moraes. That's a fun fight. Eliseo Zaleski dos Santos versus Bilal Muhammad. I'm a big fan of Bilal Muhammad. He's a beast, one of the best unranked welterweights for sure. He's a guy that probably should be in the top 15, but he can't get a guy, it seems like, to sign on the dotted line because he's fighting another unranked guy. But he's very skilled, and he's the guy that in his last fight fought through Ramadan and still got a big win at UFC 220. Not 23, one of these UFC cards. But he fought through Ramadan, got a win. I'm a fan of Bilal Muhammad. Oh, MMA Addict with the motherfucking $4.49 and he said hard work, dedication. Y'all remember that from the Ultimate Fighter? Hard work, dedication. Shout out to MMA Addict in the motherfucking building. Thank you very much for the $4.49 in the super chat, good sir. Mediocre A-hole said Roy Jones, Brian Roy-Tega. Yo. Super chats charged. Let's motherfucking go now and later in the building. Thank you again, MMA Addict. Much appreciated. We also have Francisco Trinaldo versus Evan Dunham. Hector Lombard versus Talis Latis. Man, I'm telling you, there's so many good Brazilian fighters. Every time the UFC goes to Brazil, it is stacked. Like, every fight on this card, I know at least one of the fighters, if not both of them. So I'm interested in all of the fights. And not, like, personally, but I know about Mark Godbeer and Luis Henrique. I mean, this chick right here, Livia Renato Souza versus Alexis Chambers. And then the rest of these fights, Francisco Trinaldo, Evan Dunham, both of those guys formerly ranked in the top 15 of the lightweight division. So these are some good fights for this fight night card. And, of course, Vieira versus Tanya Evinger adds to that. Moving on, though. Let's see. Stamina MC says Caitlin got sent on a fool's errand. They want her out of rotation to clear the path for whatever plans they have for home. Ain't nothing interesting going on at bantamweight till 2019 now, for fuck's sake. Yeah, man. I mean, yep, you hit it on the you hit the fucking nail on the head with that one. Yeah, not a lot to look forward to at bantamweight aside from that fight. I don't know if Holly Holm comes back. Maybe Raquel Pennington accepts the call out from GDR. That might be a little fun. Here's an interesting situation coming out of Invicta Flyweight or Invicta Fighting Championship. This was I didn't even cover this fight, even though I watched it. This was not last Friday, but the Friday before that. There was no fight card, so I was like, hey, fuck it, Invicta's on. Let's just put it on in the background. So I was kind of listening to the commentary while I was doing whatever I was doing, and I heard that throughout the fight, the commentary team talking about how Mina Grusander was winning the fight. They're like, yeah, Jinh Yu Frey, she's going to need something big in this third round to win this fight. And she went on to lose that round. So I felt like Mina Grusander might have won all 3 rounds, if not 2 for sure, but she still went on to lose a unanimous decision. So a lot of people felt like Mina Grusander got completely robbed in that fight. And you know how they'd say you've seen worse decisions. Yeah, you might have seen some, but this was up there with some, you know what I'm saying? She was controlling top position. I mean, Mina Grusander won this fight, but she didn't get her hand raised. And with that being said, now her opponent is coming out and acting like a sore loser, even though she got her hand raised. And she's saying that Mina Grusander had, like, terrible hygiene in the fight. She actually went as far to say as she believes Mina Grusander did not shower for a whole week before the fight as part of her strategy. Jinh Yu Frey's husband has came out and talked about this as a strategy that was used in wrestling called the stinking strategy. But yo, man, I feel like this is uncalled for because, for one, it's below the belt and you won the fight. But for two, you didn't say anything about it during the fight. Laura Sanko, who was the commentator who stood ringside, stood next to Mina Grusander as well. She probably would have got a whiff after the fight, if you know what I'm saying. If she was stinking during the fight, she would have probably been a lot more smelly after the fight. It's just thinking about that shit's kind of nasty. But still, at the same time, Laura Sanko came out and defended Mina Grusander. And she's like, yo, I stood right next to her and I didn't smell this. So this is kind of fucked up what you guys are saying. So weird situation, you know what I'm saying? But here we go. Douglas Frey, Jin's husband and coach, wrote a tweet in which he said that Grusander was the most disgusting smelling person that he's ever been around. And he implied that she intentionally used poor hygiene as a tactic to distract from Frey and gain an advantage in the fight. That tweet was since deleted, but there still is this post. And you can see over here on the sideline, which is the part I'm pulling up, says, let's see, right here. I also had never had an opponent who did the whole, I'm not showering for a week so that my body odor makes my opponent gag tactic, so that was new. So she's saying that's the reason she pretty much got her ass whooped. Like, it's not like you were in there plugging your nose while you were getting your ass whooped. Like, you couldn't fucking throw both hands because you had to fight like this. Like, oh, shit. You know, it's not like you were fucking plugging your nose during the fight. That's not where your defense was lacking. It's not like you were plugging your fucking nose when you had to stuff a takedown. You couldn't, you know, get the underhooks, or you couldn't sprawl because you were plugging your nose. So I don't want to hear this shit, especially how come after the first round you were saying, this girl smells like shit. Oh my God, I can't even focus on the fight. She smells so fucking bad. It's not until after you get a lot of shit, because Jinh Yu Frey's getting shit. Because, no pun intended, because a lot of people felt like she lost the fight. But the fans are coming at her like, oh, you lost the fight. Mina Grusander's the real champion. You're not the real champion. And so how does she respond to those fans? By saying, oh, the only reason I lost the fight is because this girl smelled like a fucking dead pound of tuna mixed with shit. Like, you know, not in those words, but essentially she's saying they're saying this is the worst smelling person they've ever smelled. Like, really? That's some sore loser shit in my mind. You know what I'm saying? Someone said KO. Mediocre A-ho said KO via BO. Yo, the beta strategy. Yeah, that, come on, dog. There's got to be a lot of different strategies you can utilize to win a fight, especially from Mina Grusander, who was winning the fight. It's not like her fucking smells were overpowering you. It's not like you couldn't get off of your back because of the smell. Like I said, you weren't laying on your back plugging your nose either. You were getting controlled. You couldn't get off of your back, and she was clearly doing enough damage for the referee to not stand up the fight. If she was just laying and stalling on you, another thing she said, oh, she just laid on me the whole fight and stank. If she was just laying on you the whole fight, the referee would have stood it up. That's not true either. So really, this is a sore loser coming from the winner spot, and I feel like it's below the belt, no pun intended, because she's talking about this chick's hygiene. And it's one thing if you're saying a dude's got BO, but when you start questioning a chick's hygiene, that's even a whole nother level. We don't know if you're talking about her underarms or her motherfucking under vag, if you know what I'm saying. So that's a whole nother level. That's like defamation of character type shit. people are going to look at me, and hopefully people can realize what's going on, and Mina Grusander, but you know the internet is ruthless. I wouldn't be surprised if this shit turned into memes, and Nina Grusander had to go through some shit, people talking about that. But if you're a person that's actually looking at the fight and you see where this is coming from, you're like, okay, this chick's just a sore loser. But at the same time, that's some pretty crazy allegations to throw around there. And it's coming out of the Invicta FC atomweight title fight. Now, with that being said, what's interesting enough is Mina Grusander is taking this like a champion. She's the one that should have been the champion. And she's taking it like a champ. She ain't talking too much shit back. She's saying, listen, I'm not going back and forth with her over these allegations. I'm not going back and we're not going to settle our beef outside of the octagon. If she wants to settle it with me, we can get back in the cage. And that's some champion shit right there. Because it's like, I just got robbed blind. If I'm Mina Grusander, I don't even know if I want to fight this chick again. I mean, just for the payday. But do I want to fight for this promotion that just robbed me blind? You know what I'm saying? You just got robbed. Or the judges, hopefully it's different judges that night. But it's like, she's just like, no, you know what? Fuck it. I'm not going to talk trash back to her. I tell you what, give me my rematch and I'll say everything I need to say. So Nina Grusander is taking this shit like a complete champion, which is commendable considering what's being said about her by the girl who fucking won the fight. So, yeah, man, a crazy situation. Meaning, unemployed. See, that's what I'm saying. Mina Grusander, now you got people talking about Mina Grusander. That's exactly what the fuck I'm talking about, dog. And all because you lost the fight. Freya is trying to take the high road now, little bitch. Yeah, I'm sure she should be. It wasn't even just her. This is a situation where her husband came in and co-signed the shit, kind of like Andrea KKK Lee, right? Because it's like, it's one thing when you come out here and make an excuse, but then when your husband starts saying, oh, she's the most smelly person I've ever fucking smelled in my life. It's like, whoa, piling on now. And then he kind of pulled this whole, you remember whenever that photographer at Jackson Link was talking trash about Cyborg and said some shit like she looked like a man, like, oh, that was the toughest man we ever fought. And he was talking about for Holly Holm, and they kind of came out and talked shit about Holly Holm after she lost the fight, or they were talking shit about Cyborg after Holly lost the fight. That's also what this reminded me of. It's like you're coming out and talking this shit after you lose a fight, even though you got your fucking hand raised. It's like, can't you go home with the fact that you got your hand raised? You already got the short end of the stick, but clearly you're feeling some type of way. You got that belt, but you might not be feeling like a champion. You might not be feeling like a winner, so you're coming up with these excuses. But with that being said, after they got in a little bit of trouble, he came out and was like, oh, no, I speak a little bit of Finnish, or wherever she's from, Iceland. I speak a little bit of Iceland. I overheard them talking shit about Nina, or I heard them talking about their strategy and their language. And it's like, all right. I mean, sure, it seems like you're just trying to clear it up now. We remember what happened whenever Cyborg's, the whole photographer, got into trouble. He said, oh, we heard Cyborg talking shit on Holly in the van. That's why we said what we said. That's no excuse to go out publicly and try and humiliate this person. Whether you're saying Cyborg looks like a man, or whether you're saying Mina Grusander smells like a fish, whatever you're saying, that's not a good reason. Is not because you lost a fight. You're just being a sore loser there. So with that being said, it is what it is. That's the end of the show, man. Oh, one last thing. ACB looks like they might be going, and three of the ACB's recent fight cards have been canceled. This was now the third one in the row. Looks like they're having organizational and financial problems. Yeah, all your motherfucking best fighters are going over to the UFC. You know what I'm saying? A lot of these talented Russian fighters are coming over from the ACB. So it really seems like they're jumping ship. Like a lot of these super good fighters, Maribek Taisomovs of the world and Islam Makhachevs, whenever you go and look at their resume, a lot of them came from the ACB, and you see now they're fucking straight studs. But they were coming from the ACB, who is now having some organizational and financial issues, keeping them from putting on events. So with that being said, it looks like some of the fighters might have jumped ship. They saw, what was on the horizon. But they've still been trying to make moves. They signed, Brad Pickett. He was supposed to headline the next card. That now seems canceled. And this is what they posted. Less show, more fighting. So maybe, something to keep your eye on if you're interested in ACB fights. I know a lot of people aren't, so we're not going to stay there too long. But yeah, man, that's just an interesting situation. One of the better organizations outside of the UFC struggling to stay afloat. So yeah, man, With that being said, I think we're out of here for the day. Appreciate everybody for coming through. Ked Barrier Hardwell said, great show, fam. I appreciate it. Thank you to everybody that hit the thumbs up button. Dominic Noisic says, ACB investing too much money but not making enough. Yep, and that, you know, hopefully that doesn't happen with the UFC with this loan. And I don't think it will. They're a lot more set in stone. But there is something to be said about spending too much money and not making enough. Ked Barrier Hardwell says, the lightning is back, Conor. All right, guys, man, it is what it is. We'll see you guys tomorrow, same time, 7 p.m. Eastern. Let the full-time family know what you guys think in the comments. We are out of here.